Dr. Joseph Richardson.
Hi, Dr. Richardson. How you doing?
Hey.
Okay, you have a comment?
No, I wasn't able to hear really what was said. So, I heard you say something about African American studies.
Okay. We were talking about how certain departments aren't necessarily valued, and I was saying how a lot of students, like the classes that have impacted me, the most since I've been at Maryland have been my African American studies classes, and how a lot of students may not be African American studies majors, but have taken several courses in African American studies classes, and I find it interesting that the professors that truly empower students and to go above and beyond their education, to be engaged in their community, and to even, go to graduate schools, are the ones that are not valued.
Right.
Yes.
I totally agree. I would say that among all the departments, we're probably the most interdisciplinary and have at least one of the most rigorous curriculums in BSOS. But I think the perception of African American studies from people who aren't majors is that it's an easy major that's used as a default when students can't make it in other majors such as economics or engineering or chemistry. We find that the students always end up coming in FM, and then they get to a rigorous curriculum and find out that it really wasn't what they expected. They expected the classes to be easy. They expected the curriculum to not be as rigorous as it was in probably their previous majors, but they often find that it's more rigorous than the majors that they were in or the schools that they were in prior to switching over to AFAN. So it's a matter of perception, and particularly among parents who often influence their kids not to go into African American studies because they think that majors won't be able to do anything with that once they get out of the college, but that's untrue.
Yeah, I mean, I know based on my experiences and my interaction with alumni, I mean, first and foremost, my brother is an engineering and African American studies major. So he's taking the information that he's learning about African American studies and applying it to engineering. I know people who've told me that their experience at University of Maryland within the African American Studies department has greatly impacted them, and some of the courses they took were even kind of more difficult than the courses they took at a graduate level. But that it helped them stimulate thought, it helped them prepare their writing skills, and really was essential in aiding them to deal with the graduate level courses. So, yeah, the departments, people really need to learn more about these departments before they make generalizations, but let's move on. Let's move on to the topic of assimilation. Assimilation. So, what does assimilation mean to you? What do you mean when I say that word? What does that mean as far as the University of Maryland?
Are you talking to me or?
Yeah,
To actually adopt the values and mores of mainstream culture, and to kind of abandon the morals, values, norms, and behavior of your own culture, and ignore those.
Right.
So,
So to the panel, do y'all feel as if University of Maryland is kind of pushing some sort of, trying to pushing people to assimilate?
Is the university pushing in that direction?
Yeah.
I would say we're definitely moving in that direction. The less diverse it becomes, the more people are going to assimilate. So, as we move away from diversity, we're definitely moving into a direction where people are going to begin to adopt kind of the common behavior and values of mainstream society. And those things that you've learned in African American studies, we don't have that kind of diversity, then we'll have an entire student population that'll be assimilationist.
I think Dr. Richardson hit it on the head that we don't openly have to have an active policy for assimilation, but that the removal of all the things that stand against assimilation is kind of a de facto movement in that direction. And I think to a great extent, you know, as an individual student, the assimilation that I see is not so much top down, but it's kind of lateral. It's very much.
You said bottom up?
No, the assimilation that I tend to see on this campus is not so much top down, but kind of lateral. What students adopt from each other, the ways that students seem to squelch aspects of themselves or their cultures in order to fit into certain social groupings on this campus. And I think that for the most part, the way that assimilation works on this campus, at least as far as I've seen it, is more on an individual level. It's about the choices that people make to honor the things that are true about themselves and their backgrounds, or choices that they make to the contrary, to give those things up in order to seek some benefit or access in some social setting.
I mean, I would agree.
I can't really hear you guys that good well because I'm on my cell phone.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to hang up in a minute. But one thing I do want to say about what you mentioned, I don't think it's just a campus problem. I think it's a societal problem.
Yeah.
We have deluded ourselves to believe that we're in a post-racial society, and therefore we don't need to have our own values, culture, morals, behaviors, whatever. And the fact that we've adopted that is why we're here where we are right now. And you've assumed this assimilation is positive, and ultimately it's going to be the demise of the African American student population, African American, and Caribbean, if we don't begin to address why that's happening and get away from this notion that we have achieved a post-racial society just because we have an African American president.
Yes,
So,
I agree. Thank you so much for calling, Dr. Richardson.
all right.
We actually have another caller
From Detroit.
from Detroit. Caller, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. This is Abayomi Ezekwe. I'm calling from Detroit.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm great. I'm glad to hear from you again.
Yes.
Would you like to comment on what's going on?
Well, from what I understand, the programs that have historically serviced African students at the university are under attack, and I think it's part of a nationwide problem. As someone mentioned earlier, we're not in a so-called post-racial society. And the fact that we have an African-American president, an African-American attorney general, and there's a majority Democratic Congress as well as Senate does not mean that all our problems are solved. And we really have not had any fundamental change or shift in U.S. policy, domestically or internationally, since Obama has been in office over the last 10 months. So we have the same problem here in Michigan. We're facing increased government repression, budget cutbacks, job losses, epidemic foreclosure and eviction rates, utility shutoff rates. So it's a nationwide problem, and it's something we have to address on a grassroots level as African people in this country.
I was gonna agree almost completely with what you were saying. For one thing, I think it can be said that ignorance is bliss. You know, and the less value there are on diversity majors and things that will teach you about some of the things that institutionally are wrong with this country and this school and what goes on within different cultures, you're pretty much bound to think whatever you thought when you got here. You know, so that means you're under the